and Chris is, let's say, the chief statistician, is the manager of data program of the foundation. Thank you, Chris, to be with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Luca. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for coming. And you want to tell me a little bit about you and about Lumina, your job, the program that Lumina has in data?
Sure. So great to be with you. My name is Chris Mullen, as you said, and I am the we call it the strategy director for data and measurement at Lumina Foundation. And what that means is that I make investments to help improve and use official statistics, and then in the United States, mostly focused just on people after high school who go on to go to college or training or some other option after high school. For those who don't know, Lumina Foundation is a private nonprofit foundation based in Indianapolis, Indiana. And what that means is we are here to help more students be successful after college, after high school. And as a private nonprofit foundation, we make investments. So we provide grants and contracts and others to support a broader coalition of individuals and organizations to really improve, in my role, the statistics and the data and information we have available, both for the public use and for our use too, to make sure we're making good investments.
Thank you. Great. Very interesting. And then let's start with you mentioned official statistics.
Yeah.
In your word, not to be too technical, what is for you official statistics?
Yeah, for me, official statistics are those collected by a government, because by a statistical agency primarily, because those often have all those privacy and safety and rigor that go with numbers or statistics that aren't always captured when private individuals collect data themselves, right? Official statistics, oftentimes when you develop questions, you go through things like you interview people to make sure they really understand what you're saying. I don't know if you've ever talked to your brother or sister or aunt or uncle and asked them a question and they're like, what are you asking me? I don't understand what you're asking. So, the technical term for that are cognitive interviews, right? Like I want to ask somebody, in the past week, how many times have you gone to the grocery store, right? To me, that might make sense, but somebody might be like, well, grocery store, do you mean like the bodega? Do you mean like the farmer's market? What do you mean by grocery store? And so we might have to refine that question, but we don't know that until we ask people to do it. So official statistics go through a process to ensure that the data and numbers we collect are as accurate as possible.
Yes, great. This information, for instance, is the gross domestic product, the GDP, the
Yep.
inflation, that is very important when we go to the market and so on, the poverty, the unemployment rate. They are very crucial information that we see every day in the newspaper, in the internet, we watch in television, but we don't know this is official statistics. They come, no, sometimes. Of course, me and you, we know, but people, it's bombed by this data that sometimes they don't know where it come from.
Absolutely. And sometimes people don't even reference or say, I got it from an official place, right? And so you spend a lot of your time tracking down. I don't know about you, but sometimes I do. Where did that number actually come from? And sometimes it's an official statistic. And oftentimes, when people call me, like, I have this great number, and I look at it, it's from one study of one small group of people somewhere, and it's not an official statistic. So that's the hard part is, for good reasons, we don't live in a society where you and I are having a conversation and I say, oh, by the way, that number just came from, the National Household Survey or the the Consumer Finance Survey or something. We're just like you said, 54% of Americans have a post-secondary credential. Great. Okay. We don't cite our sources in conversation, and that leads to an underappreciation for official statistics.
Okay, then why for you, let's say, I don't know if it's correct, ordinary people, let's say not statistician, let's say human being,
Sure.
should care about official statistics in their daily life?
Yeah. Well, I think what I really like about official statistics is they're descriptive. They help paint a picture and help you understand the magnitude of how many people are we talking about, right? And and then you can tell the human story as a part of it, right? So we might say something to the effect of there are 43 million people who started college and stopped out. That's a very big number, right? And then you can talk about your brother, sister, aunt, uncle, your own experience. And it helps you understand that A, you're not alone and it's a bigger part of a thing. Where if I said to you, Luca, about 300 people in America last year dropped out of, started college and didn't finish, you'd be like, okay, so that you're a special, unique case, right? That's a very different feeling and story than if you have an official statistic, which gives you a bigger number, right? And so it really sets the context and to help you understand like how relevant is this conversation we're having to society and bigger problems, and how much of it is like this is a unique case of an individual, which still provides value and allows us to understand what's going on.
Yes, and also I think in my study I see that all these data are used or overused or misused in an election campaign, especially, of course, in a democratic country, in a competitive election. The president will say, "Ah, the unemployment rate is the opposition say the opposite." Then these data are create accountability for the government, but also for the politician, for the Congress, for everybody.
Yeah.
And what official statistics are often described by as neutral.
Right.
Do you buy that? For instance, I work in a national statistical office.
Yes.
When I introduce myself, my name is Luca, I work. Everybody say, but this is always is. I don't know, is organized to support the government and so on. I start to say, no, why? What do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's an interesting space to be in, right? Because it just reinforces our last conversation about numbers and statistics have importance and have weight and help people make sense of what's happening, whether it be, as you said, the GDP, number of students completing college, and or whatever that interest may be. I think well, first of all, anytime you ask a question and decide to collect data on it, there's some kind of interest, right, involved in that, and that's a decision, that's a policy decision by an individual. So we have to recognize we don't collect data about every single thing in all the world. So the selection of it introduces some kind of interest, but I think it's an important interest, right? Like there's a whole process about what you decide to measure with a statistic, and then I do think, I mean, neutral, I think they can be. I mean, they are numbers, right? And you have to recognize that they're numbers and that they tell the best possible story, but they're not causal, right? And so I think that's where people get this idea about are they neutral or not. It's very hard for, as your point, like a president come and like change the GDP in like 6 months, unless they do something drastic, which is a whole other conversation, right? But these things often take time and lag and are a result of multiple factors. And so everybody wants to claim a number or ascribe a number to somebody, but you and I both know to change official statistics, there has to be a shock to the system, COVID, right? Or a long period of ingrained investment to make a dramatic change in things. And so I think they're politically neutral, right? Because you're just collecting data. How they're used is not. That's okay. And our your jobs of ours is just to say this is the number. As long as there's rigor, back to this official conversation we had, as long as there's rigor and an intent to best measure whatever the idea is, That's all that statisticians can do. We can't control how you can never control how they're used.
Yes, yes, Chris, I completely agree. Anyway, statistics, the production of these statistics is a long process. For instance, the GDP is not calculated by a person; it's calculated by different office, institution. Then you cannot change the figure. And also, there are international standard, and as you say, if the GDP of this country always was a 1%, and in a moment is 20%, something something strange happen.
Right. I mean, that's we just recently connected. There were 5,000 people at a meeting in Boston, the United States, to talk about statistics. And those are just people who work on it. To your point, it's not one person sitting there with a clipboard, making little marks to say like, oh, 45 is the answer. No, it's very complicated. It's a whole profession, and people are really dedicated to it.
Chris, I have the last question for you. You look very, I don't know your age, but you look very young. At the same time, if you could give a piece of advice, a young statistician, a young data expert, what would be?
Yeah, I mean, I think for those young people interested in statistics, you just have to realize like you have to almost want to be a builder, right? Like you have to like build and create things, which is a little different than people I know sometimes who like are curious and want to like solve problems. Those are researchers, people who use the data. And understanding that about yourself, if you're asking yourself the question, should I be a statistician or not? You already have an interest in math, right? That's wonderful. The question is, do you really like to build things? In my opinion, statisticians, do you really like to be curious and understand how they fit together and what causes what? That's more of a researcher. Now they're connected, but they're also different. So to bring the most professional happiness and joy in your life, a young statistician should just recognize that they like to like create things for other people to use. Like we're like farmers. We want to grow vegetables so people can take the vegetables and make some wonderful food. What we care about is it's a tasty apple, it's a wonderful cucumber, right? And then other people get to cook with it.
Thank you very much, Chris, to be with us. And I hope to meet you in other conference or around the world, and also maybe to meet in Lumina, and maybe for other interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucas. Great to be with you.